So, how did drawing Soloqueue make me a better person? Let's find out. Now, I have a lot of experience playing Soloqueue. Got $2,000 in Dota 2, CSGO, about $1,000, Valorant, 500. All of that is probably lobby gameplay though, like with a 5 stack. League of Legends is about $200, and I used to solo queue a lot, specifically in Dota 2 and CS:GO, and made friends still and also made lobbies. But I still enjoy solo queuing in these games, and you'll find out soon why. But I'm going to be using Dota as the primary example or background for most of my examples, since I do have the most experience with it, and yeah, it's $2,000, and most of that was in SEA, Southeast Asian servers, because Indian servers are just shit. But in SEA, that was sometimes a language barrier, maybe like 50% of games, maybe less. But sometimes you get teammates that don't speak English, and that's okay. Then I did move to North America, North American servers. NA servers are way better actually. Even, I don't know, the Russians or Peruvians that join, most of the time they do know a bit of English, so it's not too bad. But yeah, let's get into some of the generic lessons you learn from mostly like any hobby or like a game or things you do. It's just that hard work and study pays off, especially for activities where people don't try a lot, like hobbies or like video games, especially where people are just doing it to have fun. At least most people, I think. If you just put in a little bit of hard work, if you put in a little bit of effort, you really see it pay off, especially in video games at lower skill levels. If you're just starting out, you're a Herald in Dota 2 or like you're Silver in CSGO, you really see how much better you get just by trying a little bit. And you see how much faster you improve based on how much effort you put in. You put in like more effort, you just improve faster and faster, especially in the beginning stages. That said, it's not just about hard work and grinding games. It is also about working smarter, doing practice. Not just grinding games, but for CS:GO, you go, do some aim training, shoot some bots around in a practice range in Valorant. For Dota 2, maybe you don't know what all the heroes do, what all the items do. Maybe just read up like the descriptions, and that also goes a long way, especially in the beginning stages of playing a game. But those are some generic lessons. Let's get that out of the way. How did this make me a better person in general? Let's find out. I mean, these lessons are good that I just mentioned. They do make you a better person, but there's some other hidden lessons, I feel like. One of those is playing for the level you're at, not for what the best of the best are doing. So play for whatever skill level you are, not for what the pros are doing. So I remember one time I went on like a crazy win streak in Dota 2. It was like a 27 win streak or something of straight unbeaten games. The game got so boring for me because I would just play the same hero, win every game, and it just, I don't know, that was a bad idea actually. Just winning so much is not good for you, but I just play on dying so much, and like I would just buy all the support items, and it wasn't exactly the most meta thing you could do. It wasn't what the pros were spamming in high level lobbies. It was just something that worked so well at like, I don't know, 2K, 3K, where you just make sure your carry has a good lane. You buy all the support items to help him make sure he survives. And if you just make good decisions, you talk to your team, you coordinate, you make sure everyone's feeling good, you just win the game. And that kind of applies to real life too. Like when right now I'm applying to jobs and I'm doing assessments, but you don't really need to do interview practice if you're not doing any interviews. Like they're not this month or anything, so I'm not gonna do any interview practice until later, until like those interviews start coming in. So it's kind of just focusing on what you need to do right now, rather than like what maybe general advice is or what the meta is, you know. And then I guess more Dota specific is going with the flow. I guess going with the flow, yeah, it does apply to real life, but going with the flow as a support is actually super helpful in Dota. If you think you're more of an active support, you probably want to play with your mid and off lane more. But if you think the team is a bit too passive, you probably just want to, keep your cores safe and react to plays from the other team. You kind of just want to see what the people who are trying to accomplish the task with you are doing and try to do that with them. Try to do whatever your team is doing and have that single goal that you all work towards. And that's just super helpful in Dota, in real life. And it's just mostly a good idea. Sometimes it's not a good idea, but you definitely need to consider, even though your team isn't playing in the ideal way or the meta way, maybe it's better to have a plan and do it together rather than have the best plan and do it separately. But yeah, if there's a guy charging in, they'll die alone. Try to get the team to help him, and maybe it gets better. Or if just tell him to stop doing that. If he doesn't listen, maybe you can like try helping him. But oh well. And this is a big one actually. This lesson is handling interpersonal relations, and it's kind of it applies to everything, to be honest, that you do with other people. But I feel like in Soloqueue, in lying Soloqueue, things are so they're so like and you could hear a needle. You could what's a good example? We're gonna cut right now. One wrong play could ruin the entire game. One tilted teammate could just destroy the whole game for you. And just essentially handling the team's mental is just super useful. It's just so I don't know. It just needs to be positive. It just needs to stay intact. Nobody needs to get tilted to actually win the game. So when someone gets angry, you try to figure out what's bothering them and help them, soothe them, calm them down. Now, am I talking about Dota or am I talking about real life? But yeah, also though, there is another aspect of this with talking to the enemy team, or I don't know, you're talking shit, they're talking shit. I would just mute all if you actually care. I generally don't, because I think it's actually fun talking to the enemy team. I do mute if I find myself typing too much, because then it's just I'm talking instead of like trying to play the game. But yeah, just mute all if you're too sensitive. I feel like everyone should know that. But that was an aspect of breaking the enemy team's mental, which it is fun sometimes, especially when the enemy team is kind of giving you that opportunity. Like Kelly is crying like, oh no, my team sucks ass, and you just throw in a little, yeah, they're really bad, or just stirring the pot like that, calling out a bad draft, a little tipping when you see some huge mistakes. That goes a long way. That could win games, honestly, more than anything that you do mechanically or like strategy wise. Just having a person on the enemy team just give up, that's a win most of the time. But yeah, you can that was a bit of a evil strategy where you join the enemy flaming their teammates. I think that's interesting because it like really shifts the team dynamics, because the enemy team is flaming one guy and you're joining in with them. So now it's you and the enemy team versus that one dude. So he just feels like his own team is kind of betraying him, and that usually leads to some infighting or griefing. And that kind of applies to real life too, because when you agree with or get friendly with someone your friend doesn't like, there's a little extra betrayal in that kind of interaction. But again, on the flip side, this does mean that if you get friendly with the people around someone that hates you, you're probably annoying them while making friends, and that's kind of beautiful. It's like a win-win situation. But yeah, back to handling interpersonal relationships. I guess that is still handling, but team interpersonal relationships. Yeah, so if your Cali had a rough lane, help them out, get them a salve, keep them safe, make sure to TP if they're getting jumped. You teammate complaining a lot, maybe try and talk to them, help them focus back on the game. Some people start complaining a lot and they just won't listen. Then you just gotta like, I don't know, throw out silver linings and try to show them that it's not over yet. And some people, these are even worse. They get unresponsive and they just farm in jungle, and you just play on the less space that you have. They don't want to play the game how most people should be playing it. You just kind of pretend you have like one less teammate. This is the worst now. Some people just sit in front AFK. They're just contributing nothing at all, And at my behavioral score, you don't see that. I don't think I've ever been griefed, maybe like yours, but like that. But just support them, I guess, and improve the community. And honestly, you can win 4v5s. I don't know what skill level you're at, but you could win a 4v5 depending on the drafts and stuff. But yeah, these kind of interactions were harder in SEA with the language barrier. But when most people speak English in NA and stuff, Russians and Peruvians know a little bit, the game of like balancing the team's mental got more interesting to me than just playing Dota 2 for some reason. The game wasn't just about being mechanically good, intellectual and strategic in the items or the moves you're making across the map, because that was the social aspect of handling the relationships on the team, making sure everyone's, moving towards the right goal, and they have that correct mindset. And those relationships are like from your support to your carry in the safe lane, the support to the mid. Are you going to try and help out the mid? The mid feels way better when you come and help them, your runes and stuff. The support to support relationship, who's going to buy the wards, who's going to buy the support items, which ones are you going to get? The supports as a group to the cores, like, are you just going to complain about wards? Are you actually going to get the wards? All of that. And, you got also, the enemy team relationships with the mid to the enemy mid, because they're playing a 1v1 lane, and that gets interesting, that's pure skill even. And you even have those relationships from a teammate that's behind to the enemy that's stomping him. You got to make sure that behind a teammate doesn't just give up. And, even when you have a teammate that's ahead and he's just trashing the enemy who's way behind, getting absolutely destroyed, you still got to handle that. Make sure your teammate doesn't get too cocky, because that's when the throws come in. And I've lost games like that. They just dive fountain. Why not? We're winning anyway, aren't we? So, you just got to watch out for that. But yeah, you end up in a lot of unique situations, and you need to think on your feet. But you do see, patterns emerge. You see, a good lane, then you gotta keep your carry feeling good, get some kill sustain items. You got a bad lane, carry's probably feeling bad. You gotta get some save items to make sure he doesn't just, keep getting tilted. You got a problem hero, you get a problem solving item. You got an invis hero, you get sentries, you get dust. You just think on your feet, and you also get super good at just talking to people and persuading them and understanding, how different people feel and kind of how to get them feeling better. And I think that's a good skill to have just in general, and you can work on it while playing Dota 2. Isn't that beautiful? But yeah, all this helps in real life situations, because you want to, in general, you just want to, in life, in anything, you want to try to find the problems that you're facing through communication. Like, your friend likes the same girl as you do. Well, you got to address that specific issue. You got to admit that both of you are interested in the same person. And then you got to balance the different relationships that you have between you, the other person, and that girl, because, you got to figure it out together. Like, what is the situation? Who actually likes who? Like, what's going on here? And you just got to talk it through. Or maybe you're winning and you just don't say anything, It's up to you. But yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And I don't know, I just want to make this video because I realized I was just winning a lot of games recently. Or maybe, I don't know, I felt like the reason I was winning those games was because I was talking to my teammates well and motivating them, doing well with that. So thanks for listening.